you are part of the business, you're part of the board, you're part of the technical delivery teams.
Give him funding, give him the right support. He will find a solution. When I hire a consultant, I look for the muscles.
You don't have access to the data, can't learn, the culture's not there.
Which is governance, compliance, risk management.
What value does that give us back?
The methods that are in place right now need to be rethought about. If a culture is not equipped for change, it will be a struggle.
Welcome everyone to GCC Tech Talks by 70 Experts. I'm Tom Stroud, one of your co-hosts, joined here by
Sai?
Hello, Sai. Welcome. So we've got an exciting one today. We have Ezzeddine, who has over 25 years of transformation and digitalization experience. A lot of it here has been in the UAE region as well. So Ezzeddine, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sai.
So I think, before we kind of dive into business and transformation, who is Ezzeddine?
Well, that's okay.
A bit of reflection time.
Yeah. So, Tom, when I get this question these days, as you rightly said, 25 years experience, it becomes very difficult to create a summary. So I'm going to start with the fun part and then move to the serious part. So Ezzeddine is looking for retirement as a stand-up comedian who wants to grow his own food.
Good.
Right? This is the projection. However, in the past 25 years, I've been working in digital transformation. It started in banking, Islamic banking and finance. And then I moved on to do my master's in finance and Islamic finance. It was a crazy moment during the financial crisis. I was hoping to land a job in investment banking, but I realized when one thing goes down, the other thing flourishes. So I did consultancy in financial risk management. And then at some point, my mom said, you travel a lot, you can't make a family, you have to move one place. So I moved to Dubai 11 years ago. I moved into utilities sector, and I've worked with them establishing several functions, again, part of the transformation. The last 5 years, I've been focused heavily on digital transformation and sustainability.
So, funny enough, so you've moved into utilities, but didn't you trade as an electrical engineer?
Exactly. So
full circle.
Yeah. Ironically speaking, my final year project at university was back then, right? We're talking 25 years ago, more than 25 years ago, was about what we call now IoT. So my final year project was acquiring data from devices and then coding to just have a graph. So I was using QBasic back in the days. So I'm that kind of old, right? Just to allow the data to come in and to be plotted on an x-axis and an y-axis.
So I think a lot of the audience are going to know what half these technologies are, because I feel like everyone's building an AI today. But
Do you know what? I can't believe it. He's a techie.
Yeah,
he's definitely a techie.
Well, yeah, and then after graduation, there was a professor, mechanical engineering professor. He attended my defense, and he said, "You know what? I got a job for you." And the job was he was doing a paper studying a phenomena about pumps, which is basically what I do day in, day out in the industry where I work for. And he was studying something called the vortex flow phenomena. So the pump has a propeller. And when it's exposed to water, this vortex kind of degrades the life of the propeller. And so he wanted to read 6 sensors. And my job was basically to talk to them and plot the data. And that was the first paid job after graduation.
Trying to plan all the maintenance for the propellers and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, things change right now, right? You have more sensors. And then there is another joke I make about engineers, me being one of them, which is engineers only became smart when their equipment started sending data or producing data, right? Because again, see, as engineers, right, electrical engineering is a little bit close to coding, to tech, to technology, right? But other engineering, data only emerged when new methods of doing engineering emerged, and then this creates a challenge, right? So what kind of additional skills engineer had to gain? What kind of new formats they have to be exposed to in doing business, right? And we all know that education doesn't move as fast as the industry. So there are many challenges. Similarly, people in tech, they face these things day in, day out, right? Because the technology and the tools never stop emerging, right? I mean, I remember
So fast moving.
I started with Oracle. I was an Oracle DBA at one point.
I was a DBA at one point as well.
Right. So I started with the I don't know, it was called 8 something, and then it moved to 9i, and then they became 10G, right? But it's a great evolution.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, compared to the days back then, you had to spend a lot of time understanding and learning about the technology.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But at some point, this is when I decided to go back to school and learn about something else. It was no more about just the technology, right? Because you as tech or as an engineer, you're solving or helping solve problems of the business for the business.
Yep.
And that's another language that you basically need to develop, right? And along the way, I found out also that in an organization, innovation does not usually thrive. So I stepped out from the 8 to 5 and I moved into coaching startups, right? It was an interesting move I've done because I felt that crazy things move fast in an agile way.
Yeah.
The best way to describe it in a startup, right?
Yeah.
Just find a crazy innovator who's very motivated, right? Give him funding, give him the right support, give him the right coaching. He will find a solution, right? And that's where tech actually thrives compared to the 8 to 5. Because in the 8 to 5, you have several constraints, right?
Yep.
It starts from the budget, which we all love and hate, right? Policies, procedures, dependencies, talents, relationships, how the focus of the board on the business, the cost, the time it takes for things to happen. Because if you think about it, the cycle that tech follows is faster than how decisions are being made in an organization, right? I mean, there are a lot of changes.
It can be. You've got some really, really good points there. It can be. And you are absolutely right. In a startup, the iterative changes that you can make are much, much faster.
Absolutely.
Like, as in, hands down, it moves probably 10 times faster than a traditional corporate organization. A corporate organization, there's so many rules, there's so many policies, there's so many procedures. Even one of the subjects that I was going to try and kind of raise here between the three of us was about how do we build solutions but make them sustainable. But the key question when it comes to a round board meeting, it could be the board, it could be lower down senior managers or junior managers even. What value does that give us back? How do we explain if we are more sustainable in building our solutions, or if we're more sustainable in processing our data from one place to another? How can we turn that back? Because like you said, in a startup, we can very easily see it. But in a corporate, it's really hard to explain to senior managers, to the board, of how we can put a value to the sustainability that we're actually creating.
So if we transform this question into the life of a corporate person, right?
Okay.
It is very similar to the journey that we might have forgot about, which is the 4 seasons, right? If you have a mango tree, or you pick the tree that you like, right? This tree goes through phases, right?
Yep.
It's a seed, then
a small plant,
right? It needs bees.
Yes.
Right? It needs the sun.
Yes.
Good
rain,
good fertilizers, right? So but what is an orange for you now? You go to any supermarket, you get an orange, right? This is the expectation of
Yes.
the board, right?
Okay.
This is the expectation of the board,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But what goes behind, and then there is the supply chain, right? I mean, the orange didn't come to the supermarket from this region, for example.
Well, my son thinks that vegetables just appear, like every single day. There's no.
And he still refuses to eat them.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So it is a journey, right? But we all know the value of an orange. It's vitamin C.
Yes.
Right? It's very nutritious, right? So, but to look back at the journey to make it as valuable as the price you're paying for it in a supermarket, it involves a lot of aspects, right? It starts from your understanding of the business, right? It's not the understanding of how your data architecture will look like or which tool you're going to plug into your ecosystem. It's not the vendor that you're going to be working on, right? It's basically your understanding of the business. What does the business want? What are they focused on, right?
Okay.
And businesses work in a confined space. It's either the revenue, it's either sustainability, it's non-profit, or the likes. So your understanding of the business is very important. Like, how can the business grow? How can the business be more sustainable? How can the cost be well maintained? What is my role in supporting the business? I know these are very broad questions, but we can give a lot of examples about that, right? So if you look at the ecosystem that a tech person creates, there is the ERP, there is the CRM, and then there is the data, and then there is any automation, right? But these are all serving or should be serving a business purpose.
Yes, correct. Yes,
right?
Yes, I agree.
And I found that the angle of sustainability to be the most interesting data project because it already comes preloaded with a business know-how. So in sustainability, there is the E and the S and the G, environmental, social, and governance. And in the environmental, right, understanding, for example, your greenhouse gas emissions. Where are they coming from? At the end of the day, it's data. But how does this affect you? If you take those emissions, definitely there were decisions taken behind them that caused this kind of emission. Again, data collection. So I didn't talk about data platforms. I didn't talk about these kind of things. I'm talking about business decisions, right? And those business decisions, you might have taken a different business decision that might have resulted in a lower carbon footprint, right? So this is all business. This is all business. So when I laid down the function and we progressed in sustainability, I considered it as a data project where business is very much linked to data, right? But in a way, while providing the data in a business format, the management understood what they have been doing, in which direction we're going, and what are the decisions that are affecting those numbers, right? So this is what when you say a KPI, an ROI, right? But this is only the outcome. But there is a journey behind it. Like, where does the ROI come from for a certain business? Like, for example, in the banking, when the ATM was integrated with the ERP system or the banking system, right? When there was a CRM or when the call center was fully automated. These were all tech serving a certain business need. Right?
And it was like as though you were trying to replace a process or make a process more efficient. Correct me if I'm wrong here. My understanding is, from your answer, is we made those decisions along the way to improve efficiencies, and there was an ROI figure put on it, but we didn't think what impact would it have on the planet.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So I think what I'm trying to get at is how do we reverse that? So I'll give you an example. The business wanted to digitalize. They wanted to go down the path of digitalization. They wanted the ability in this bank to go from the applicant hitting the website to the credit card being, in their Google Wallet, should we say, within 24 hours. Yeah. Okay. So that process, maybe there was another, say, 36 sub-processes. all those sub-processes have to run on some sort of compute. Yeah, compute causes emissions. Yeah, so I think where I'm trying to get to is, how do we go backwards? Like, how do we measure those 35 processes and breaking them down of what we do need and what we don't need, or each process how much it emits?
Perfect. So this is the track that you should be thinking towards. Meaning, we don't like processes, but they are very foundational to any business, right? And documenting, and understanding processes gets us very close to the business itself, right?
Yeah.
So, and we cannot ignore, so the tech people, it's part of a shared service they offer to many departments.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So the closer you are to understanding the business processes and understanding their impact, the better you're equipped to do the calculations. So I'm not going to go too deep technically into sustainability, but to give a great overview. So for us, we understand what are the components related to scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, for example. We went and we looked for the data and the sources of the data, and we verified the quality of the data. But if we did not understand first the requirement, the available processes, the sources of the data, and from whom we should ask the data, then we wouldn't be able to actually report. So again, I repeat to the fact that your understanding is multi-layered.
Yeah.
It's the business, the requirement, the people, the dependencies, the sources, the quality, the authority. It's a big matrix. It's not just the end result.
I think you bring up a big point, because most boards, like you said before, that they don't really care what technology we're going to be using, how we're going to change the processes. It's about what revenue we're going to generate, what new revenue streams, how we're going to serve our customers, how we're going to reduce our costs, customer acquisition costs. Those are all business needs that want to get delivered. How do you manage that? Because you talked about big foundation, the tree, right? There's a lot of stuff in the background to generate that new revenue stream. You, as a transformation and technology leader, how do you work with boards to go manage those expectations and put processes in place to say, we are tracking to this. How do we provide you the right updates that we are on track to go and deliver X, Y, and Z? I think that would be really useful for our audience to get perspective on that.
Yeah. So to start with, you need to understand the components of business that brings value to the board, right? You need to understand the correlation between whatever change you will do and what will be the financial impact related to that. So there will be a lot of discussions with the CFO, understanding how does the balance sheet look like, how does the budget look like, and how does the agenda of the board looks like. Because if, for example, digitalizing a call center adds no value to the board versus outsourcing it, right? This information is financial information. You wouldn't be making the right decision unless you sit with the CFO and understanding, right? Is this cost within limit? Is it not within limit? Before going and fetching the technology. So you start with internal discussions. Number 2, if you digitalize the call center, the available talent, are they ready to be onboarded into the new solution? So you have to sit also with the HR, right? You need to do your due diligence, your homework. I mean, are they equipped? Do we have to upskill them? Do we retire some people? Do we onboard some new people? That's an additional cost. And this is, you didn't make a decision yet, right? And then, what's the recurring cost? Does it fall within the expectation of the business plan as per the understanding of the CFO, right? What about the growth plan that the organization have to do? Is it aligned with the solution that you have selected? Can it be scaled up?
So summarizing this, it sounds like you've got to be a pretty good networker in an organization. You know, you're not just a technology or transformation leader. You are part of the business, you're part of the board, you're part of the technical delivery teams as well. So
I think aware of many hats.
Yeah.
I think that's
and the lobbyist as well. I mean,
Yes,
many people don't like this word when I use it, but I believe you're more of a lobbyist
100%.
because at the end of the day, you're aligning all the decision makers to join you on the transformational journey that you've just, designed as per the needs of multiple stakeholders.
If you're a good politician, you're a good business transformation leader, because like you say, we could be this could be a boardroom, right? You're not going to have everyone agreeing with the journey that you're going on, and it's sometimes is your voice louder than the others, and that's as simple as it can be sometimes.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you, though. Lobbyist is definitely a job title that we need to take on as well. That's one of the hats.
Chief lobbyist.
Yeah, because I mean, again, we just looked at the people within the organization, which is the internal stakeholders.
Yep.
What about the external stakeholders? Now, which vendor you're going to choose?
Yep.
How will you engage with them? Is it a partnership? Is it a customer-vendor relationship? What would you choose? A startup, which is like niche, solving a problem specific for you? Would you go with the big names, right? How would you choose integration with a new system? This is, again, I cannot ignore tech. How would you, right?
He's very hard.
I mean, like, we have to be realistic, right? The licensing cost, the data governance, the data residency, the security, right? I mean, and these are things that the other stakeholders
don't really care about.
I want to say they don't want to hear it, and they don't care about it, right?
It's an understanding thing, as well. A lot of people won't understand what you're talking about that don't work and live and breathe in tech. You talk about APIs to a board member, but sometimes what are you talking about? I don't know. Like I deal in dollars and cents, right?
Yeah, and we didn't ignore the fact that at some point the board will say, okay, fine, let's bring a consultant and let's take their opinion, right? So there is another stakeholder at the table, right? Coming with their baselines, benchmarks, right? We've done this here, we've done that. And one thing people don't understand about consultants is they work in isolation, right? Because again, they believe transformation happens in a corner. It doesn't. It definitely doesn't, right? Because see, one of the things that they usually let's say ignore or neglect is, how does the organization make decisions? Like, what is the authority that I have as a chief transformation officer or CIO, right? What is the authority I have to go and make change happen? Like, I can go to the board and tell them, you know what? The consultant told me, this is the journey. These are the decisions I have to make. This is the ecosystem I have to build. Let's start doing it.
So it's a light switch. It's easy, right? You turn it on and it happens, no?
It's never like that. Because first they will tell me, where did you get this authority? I mean, first, can you speak to a board? Do tech people sit on the board, right? I mean, if they don't, then the CFO will be your best advocate.
Yes. Your lobbyist.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and if you don't know that you need to be speaking to that person, then the board will say, okay, another course on the table. How do we take this agenda?
Yeah. I was just going to go back to that little bit that you talked about, the consultancy, right? Okay. Some call it an independent evaluation, right? Okay. I see it as validation. Yeah. What's your view on it? Because I'm talking about it from a point of view where I've done the research. I've kind of got a way forward for us. Yeah, we've got a problem. We have got a problem. We've got a big problem, and I've come up with some sort of roadmap in order to solve that problem. Be it with tech, be it with people, or a combination of the both. But it's only me. I'm the only one that's saying it. The CFO might be on board. He might be lobbying for me. But how do I validate that idea?
So I'm gonna start with the diplomatic answer, and then I'm gonna go explain it further.
Sure.
So, I was a consultant, right? But I want to differentiate two types of consultants. Usually, when I hire a consultant, I look for the muscles, and I am the brain. And what do I mean by that? Because the thing is, no matter what a consultant does, he's not going to be able to understand the business I'm in, right?
The
Correct.
nuances,
Yeah.
the challenges,
Yes.
the political landscape.
Yep.
Just they're unaware of it.
Absolutely. But they're very good, very well equipped in producing an outcome based on an input or a challenge that I have. So I think this is the best combination. Because the thing is, a consultant, if you think about it, he doesn't have the time to learn except on the job. Whereas I'm learning day in, day out.
Well, you got the experience as well behind you.
The dependencies, the neural network I'm building within my 8 to 5 organization, it keeps expanding. Like with my current employer, I've been there for 11 years, and never there been a day that I haven't learned something new. Like for a consultant, how is he able to gain the same knowledge as being exposed to the industry? So it's always the brain, internal, versus the consultant in producing a good outcome that can be used already, because it's already tuned to the political arena, to the technical arena, to the history, to the understanding of the business, right? They can do a great job on that. And I think, even though I don't like to talk a lot about AI, but I think AI is going to be a big challenge for consultants because it has access to data and information. It can do great summaries. It can do great baselining, of course, putting hallucination aside. But what's the difference then between a consultant and an AI sitting on a lot of information that is able to produce the same outcome in fractions of seconds, and a little bit, I would say, cheaper, much cheaper?
Well, I think we've already seen it in some places, not going to name names, but where consultants are delivering with AI, right? So it's like they're using it to deliver the outcomes and some of the paperwork and stuff that they're going into these companies with.
Yeah.
Like maybe changing gear a little bit. Have you got any stories or war wounds where you've gone through a transformation that's not worked, and what did you learn from it?
Yes, of course. We all have scars. And I think what worked was whatever tech person does, which is pick the tools, drive the consultant, build the ecosystem, right? But what didn't work is the things that I always talk about right now is the lobbying, understanding the stakeholders, adoption, right? The skill set, the culture of the organization. Because again, this is something that is usually ignored. Even on the consultant, he's not going to put a slide. He says, as per the culture, change management will become difficult. Accordingly, whatever I recommended for you is not going to work. I mean, you will never find this slide, right? I mean, you, after finishing the work with a consultant, you'll start, okay, but will the culture allow me? So culture, I would say, is a very untapped topic, because if a culture is not equipped for change, it will be a struggle. I mean, nothing is going to change. If a culture is not supporting learning, people will not be
open to it,
right? If a culture is not allowing, is not creating a safe environment for failure, people will be so reluctant to make any decision. If a culture is not allowing cross-functional collaboration or creating avenues where the process doesn't stop at some point, if the culture doesn't allow authority to be centralized, which what we call empowerment, if the culture is authoritarian, where one person makes the decision on behalf of others, right? These are signs where, especially in difficult domains in tech, such as data, and I see, I have a lot of friends from the community of data, they're struggling, right? And we always make a joke about it. It's like, be, before you hire for AI, check if there is a chief data scientist,
Yes.
right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
so there are a lot of dependencies. So and then if the culture is more agile, how has it changed over the years? Where there transformation, and there are signs for this, right? I mean, you can detect it in an interview. You can detect it when you sit with a CFO or a CEO or even the board, because these signs are foundational. I mean, we were comparing the 8 to 5, the corporate to the startup. The culture in startup is completely
Different.
malleable, and it's more leaning towards the transformation, because again, they always come up with those crazy ideas that they want to transform.
And there's an open forum to fail. Like I've worked at startups, you've worked at startups, you're advising on startups, and I'd recommend anyone, you know, to go and work with a startup, because you learn so much going through that process and iteration and failing and learning what doesn't work.
It's like going back to school. It's literally going back to school.
And I feel, again, you know, this is my opinion, the AI era is accentuating some of the cultural challenges that especially the large organizations have, where they're set in there's a process that's been in place for a long time. Fundamentally, they're successful businesses. They've done a good job. They're making money. They've got a good customer base. They've got a good brand without needing to go through a big transformation. So when they go, you know, our board initiative is to bring in AI, they're just not set up for it, because they've not spent 10, 15 years building data foundations, data teams, chief data officers. So you get IT teams scrapping around trying to build, you know, fundamental AI platforms and chatbots that, you know, don't have access to the data, can't learn, the culture's not there, it fails, and then it's, you know, again, a failed project. I think that's really important for the audience listening to you, is like, just start at the top. What are the business objectives? And we slowly piece that back. And then fundamentally, is the organization ready for this type of change? If it's not, let's do something else.
Yes, and this is an advice I give when I speak to people or when I'm on a panel. Is there was one of the WhatsApp groups, the communities, it's data and AI, and one of the gentlemen said, we're struggling with one of the consultants in building our org chart for the data team, and they suggested these titles. And then a debate started. It's a very, very nice, one of the very nice active communities. And I said, what's in a title, right? I mean, and then my advice...
It's bringing value, isn't it? It's bringing value.
True, but I'll tell you, I don't need a title if I have a good skill and competence.
Yes.
Right? Because things are becoming redefined in a way to make it more agile, right? You were a DBA, right? So what differentiates you from a data scientist, for example?
It's only the skill set, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right? Only the skill set.
I mean, but a DBA, you might be doing some data science stuff, right? Without you knowing.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what would be your title? If we can argue about this forever.
Yeah.
Right? But again, it's a skill. So people didn't transcend from the fact that there is a title, a job description, but there is more like a skill and competence. So I told them, my idea was, you know, data or AI, the nuance is everybody buys tools, right? Power BI, Tableau, whatever, right? This is a tool. But a tool is not enough.
No.
Because people succeed, the things that succeed to a certain extent are pre-packaged products, an ERP, a CRM, right?
Yep.
Because people converted the business supported by a process into a product.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the biggest challenge for people in data and AR now is everything is a tool.
Yes.
Like, okay, so now if we want to talk to the board about a tool, the discussion is going to become even more and more and more difficult. Okay, fine. What's a tool? What's the added value of a tool? What's the ROI of a tool? What's the benefit? The people invented use cases. Okay, fine. What's use cases? How many use cases can you make out of this? How much of it is relevant to the business?
But that's the point. It's the use case. Are those use cases aligned to that business objective up there? Most of the time, they're not.
And who tells you this business use case is more important than this one?
Yeah.
And how do you quantify it? How does the CFO feel about each business use case, right? Will you have enough use cases to invest in this tool? How will the adoption of people be towards this tool? Because at the end of the day, it's a tool. I mean, we all make fun of people in accounting or finance. You give them a Power BI dashboard and they tell you, how can we download it into Excel file? I don't blame them. Honestly, I do not blame them, because this is a tool. What are the products he's looking at? Has anybody ever thought about converting an outcome of a tool into a product? But then if I'm using a product, imagine, I like coffee, right? So there are machines that you have to go through a lot of processes to produce your cup of coffee. And there is another one, you press a button, you put the capsule, you press a button, you have your cup of coffee. That's a product, right? It went through a lot of processes. But instead of, I know the connoisseur of, let's say, coffee, they would argue about that. I do agree, but we don't have time to make this kind of coffee every day, right? But this is a product everybody would buy, because you would know the functionalities about it. You know how to use it, you know how to deal with it. But a tool, it's a versatile.
Yes.
And if you think about it, how many things in life of versatile nature have succeeded? Like if you look at your home, how many of the things you have are versatile versus the things that come with a
specific purpose?
Yeah. I know what it's there for. I know how to use it, and it's simple. You overcomplicate processes, and people then refuse change, which then makes transformation later down the line harder, because you failed 2 or 3 times trying to put something that's overcomplicated for a use case into someone's hands that's been doing perfectly fine with an Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, exactly. So then the dilemma is, I'm in tech. How do I take a tool and make a product out of it? It's not just product development, right? Like, what do I do with the data and what do I do with AI?
In order to get it to the other side.
Exactly.
Do you know one other subject that I wanted to really cover while we were here was governance? Yeah, and data governance.
Sure,
and
it's your favourite topic,
yeah,
isn't it,
at the moment, yes, it is my favourite topic. But I'm just going to go back to your analogy, yeah, where you said about turning a tool into a product, right? Okay, so you've got your plan, you've got your product, right? Now, this subject, data governance, AI governance, comes up, and this is for the benefit of the users, by the way, yeah, because there's a lot of users out there, I feel, that are going to be watching us, that they're not sure where to start. How do I start with this argument with the board, with the CFO? What value is it going to bring?
I know a lot of people will hate me for this, but it's not about data governance. Because if you think about data governance, so what is data, right? Data is a decision that has been made, which is basically digitalized. Right?
Yep.
So you say, I want to pay Tom 500 dirham, right? Which translates into debit and credit in an ERP.
Yes.
For a certain GL.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So if I'm the user doing this kind of transaction, what governs my decision? Before we talk about data governance.
What governs your decision is whether you have access to it or not.
Number one. Then again, what I want to bring in is the culture.
Yes.
Do I make the right decisions as a business user?
Yeah.
So that Tom gets his 500 dirham, right? And then it is properly translated into ERP. So before we talk into data governance, let's talk about, do my people or do they employees have the right culture that helps them to do the right decisions? Let me simplify it.
Okay.
Many of us, when we do an ERP implementation, we don't bring in the governance aspect to the implementation. And now let me also explain that more, right? Okay. So there are 2 departments always having nice chats, which is the internal audit and the finance. Because the internal audit will come and look at the ERP and make sure that things are done well. The people in finance and accounting have done the right decisions, recorded the things in a proper way. But nobody asked, why was not the internal audit team part of the stakeholders involved in the ERP implementation?
Very good question.
Because this is where the governance and the compliance should start.
Yeah.
But we hate internal audit because they come again to criticize how the ERP was set up, and again, of course, the people in IT will always get blamed.
Yeah.
The finance will say, we talked to them. We told them the GL should be like this, right? And then we took the business requirement gathering. This is what the finance told us. And then, of course, the vendor will get part of the blame. But if you think about it, right? I mean, if this is the guy who you rely on in governing whatever decision you have made during the ERP implementation, bring him to the table. How difficult is that, right? But because his job description is only retroactive rather than proactive.
Proactive, yeah.
Right? So we're fixing problems where we could have avoided it from day zero.
So there's a business that I work with in the UK where they didn't call the job title data governance. I think it was called data enabler or along those lines. And they basically framed it slightly different to make it less of a restrictive view of that company and audit.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. And it did help a little bit with the culture and bringing those people along the journey. Because like you say, I think a lot of companies and people don't want to bring governance in early because it's restrictive. It's going to slow the process. It's going to, add milestones to the delivery. But retrospectively, they come in and uncover a load of problems because the audit and the process hasn't been put in place.
I think a lot of the leaders that I've talked to is the problem is not bringing the governance in. It's how do I change the culture within the business to accept the governance? Because you try and bring governance in, and you set up a data council, should we say, and you have you elect some data owners. I'm not responsible for that. I'm not that's not in my JD. Like you said earlier on, that's not in my JD. How am I responsible for the data? That's IT, isn't it? That's the data department, isn't it? But again, like you said, you have to go all the way back.
Exactly.
What where did this data come from? What process did it come from? Why did you need this data in the first place, marketing team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if we take the digitalization part out of it, right, it would be a paper.
Yeah. Yes.
Who's governing the decision that's being made on the paper?
Yes.
It's again this structure that the corporate created, which is governance, compliance, risk management, right? These are the people that will come and tell you, this is right, this is wrong, this should be done, this should be corrected, right? So bring them in. So when you're digitalizing, you're doing nothing more than taking what was on paper to a digital format, the zeros and ones, right? But this is where again I blame the people in tech that because of their ambition. I know most of us in tech are very ambitious and we think we're going to save the world, we have a solution for everything, right? We try to take the initial problem, but we don't look at the root cause of the problem, and we try to find solution around it. Of course, there are many companies and consultants benefiting out of this weakness, I would say, and they're making a lot of money, but it is making tech more and more and more complex, right? I'm not saying that data governance is not important, but then again, I can pose another question. Data, am I a data custodian or am I responsible for the data? Who goes and changes the data? And if the IT changes the data, how does business feel about it? Should internal audit know about it? Anyway, in a corporate world, when things are blurry, again, this is related to the culture, the blame game just emerges, right? And we're not going to be able to solve a problem. I mean, we're going to be stuck in solving problems, let alone doing a transformation.
Yeah.
Do you think AI is accentuating that problem because there's more tools available? So it speeds up processes and can deliver things, but at the same time, there is so much you can do with it and so many companies that are coming out off the back of this AI era. Is it making the job harder or easier?
It's just blowing it up. I feel anyway.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
would
going
say-
too fast for you to catch up. It's going way too fast.
Number one, I would say it's exposing
Yeah.
these aspects, and it's exposing it, and it's also magnifying it, right? And I believe what's happening in the market, based on what I see, is with the introduction of AI into all the products that we're using, the feedback loop, which was not available, meaning, to give an example, internal audit happened in quarters or twice a year, right? Or once a year. But in AI, the feedback loop is instantaneous.
Yeah, constant.
You do a wrong appraisal, AI will tell you, why are you favoring this person, for example, or why is this grade like this, or this is above the baseline. On which basis you took this decision, right? So the feedback loop is now inherent.
It's instantaneous.
Exactly. And the thing is, this is gonna intimidate a lot of people, right? But I see a positive aspect about it, whereby if looked at properly, it will be the governance that's gonna change the culture.
Yeah.
Towards a more homogeneous conformity.
Loves the government.
Yeah. I agree. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
So we're almost up in time. I can see our production guys looking over at us. So we got one question that we ask every guest. So what's the one change you expect to see in the GCC region over the next 12 to 18 months?
12 to 18 months is a very short period of time.
That leaders need to prepare for.
I think there will be a revelation whereby a lot of leaders will understand that the methods that are in place right now need to be rethought about, in the sense that we talked about the 8 to 5. Innovation happens outside the 8 to 5. The choice of tools to create a product, right? It's not going to be no more about the ROI and the value, right? People will look at what the startups are doing in terms of innovation. They will try to copy, right? Again, economic cycle is very funny. Sometimes and when the economic cycle is not doing good, people move out from the corporate and they move into startups, and then they go back when things get better in terms of economy. So I see a transition between the 8 to 5 to the startup ecosystem. Even people in the 8 to 5, they will be more supporting and looking at startups because they want to experience the transformation that they're not able to do it. There will be a lot of reskilling, right? The talent will be disrupted. And I think this is the positive aspect of it. The negative aspect, there will be a lot of confusion, right? People will follow the trends, right? Whereby they might be left alone if they don't change, because it does require a mindset shift. So what I would like to see, rather than what I expect to happen, is I would like to see a mindset shift towards agility and innovation and integration. Again, I call for all people in tech, integrate yourself within the organization.
I think on that note, that was some really interesting points. Ezzeddine.
It was.
Really appreciate that. That was a good. That was a good conversation.
Very, very good. Very, very good.
Especially for our listeners, there's a lot to take away.
Yeah.
I think what we're hearing here is, integrate, be part of the business, speak to your peers, speak to the leadership, translate that into business outcomes, especially before we even start talking about what technology that we're going to start bringing into the business. And I think fundamentally, we've all three of us, and you advise in startups, is spend the time outside of the office hours working with startups and going to meetups and understanding, how are they driving a lot of that change. There's nuggets in there where there's companies with no process that are building things and delivering value. And you can take some of that away into your own organization.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excellent. On that note, we'll see everyone on the next episode of GCC Tech Talks in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Appreciate that. That was good.
Yeah.
That was very good.
That was
Very,
good
very
fun.
good.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
thank
Very
you.
good. Very good.
How did you find it?
Actually, yeah.
Are you sweating?
No.
We didn't mean to make you sweat.